is Jacqueline here. In today's video, I will be ranking my Pat McGrath eyeshadow palettes. But before we get started, and if you're new here, I hope that you will consider and subscribe to my channel, ring that post notification bell so you don't miss any of my uploads, and come and follow me on my Instagram. And now, if you want to see where I rank each of my Pat McGrath eyeshadow palettes, then just keep on watching. And I'm excited and I'm nervous because I'm gonna rank my Pat McGrath eyeshadow palettes. And as you know, I love Pat McGrath. I love her eyeshadows, are incredible. I love other products from Pat McGrath too, but oh my goodness, this is a tough duty. And I think the person who is starting with these type of videos ranking of, you know, X eyeshadow palettes or X brand or whatever it is, right? I think it was Kelsey Brianna J, but then I have seen Morgan Turner kind of like taking it to the next level, and you know, she just keeps going with these rankings. I'm like, okay, one day I will do it. And I said, you know what? I think it's time. I think it's time, and we're gonna get it started. And I will tell you why. First of all, I love Pat McGrath. So this was a difficult duty. I will have to say that none of these palettes are palettes that I will say, no, these are not good, unless I tell you something different. But for the most part, these palettes are actually really good. I really like them, and I will really miss them if they, for some reason, they go out from my collection. Okay, my friends, let's get started with number, I don't even know what number. Oh my goodness, let me count. Okay, so 20 palettes total, so let's start with number 20. Oh, but before I do so, I want to mention to you guys, I think right now Pat McGrath is still running her holiday sale. I think if you spend less than $150, you get 25% off on your entire purchase. And if you go above $150, it's 30% off. On top of that, she also has some of her lipsticks, not all of them, but certain in different categories, like her matte lipsticks, her, you know, satin lipsticks and whatnot. Once again, selected ones, they are $12 a piece. I know, that's a great deal. Okay, friends, let's start with the number 20, Rose Decadence. So this palette came out this year. I mean, Pat McGrath has been all about roses. And the reason why I'm ranking it so low is not because the color story. I really love the color story. I think more than anything is the formulation. I mean, all the metallics to me, they work well, but the two only mattes right here, they are powdery and they are very, very dry. I mean, like, this is where I'm saying, like, the palettes right here, is not that I dislike them. I just think like this in particular one has a little bit of like, so what happened with the formulation right here? What's going on? So that's why this one right here in particular is ranking so low. But color story is beautiful, all pink, golden shades. I mean, stunning. Now in position number 19, I have here Star Wars Dark Galaxy palette. And I know you're gonna be like, what? I truly love the color story. The reason why I have it here so low is because there's only one matte shade and all the rest are shimmer or metallic shades. And it's not that it's something wrong about it to have it like that, but what I think about this palette is more of like a complementary palette. It's not a palette that it stands alone. I think that's why I'm ranking it so low. It's not because performance, it's not because color story. I love the colors in here. I love these very deep eggplant purple tones, fire tones. I mean, like, it's gorgeous. I think the main reason has to do that, like I said, it ends up being a complementary palette. And in the 18th place, I will have to go with Galactic Gold, and this is kind of like the same thing for me, is complementary palette. I love the color story. I love the combination right here of the gold tones, the purple tones, these kind of like, I mean, has a beautiful flip right here between, I mean, like from this side you can see like it's I mean, it has purple, it has red. I mean, I don't know if the camera is able to, like, it's a duochrome that is just gorgeous. But like I said, it's not because of the beauty of the palette, the color story of the palette, is because is not a standalone palette. But other than that, I mean, I love the copper tones, and this is the beauty of these Star Wars palettes right here, because each of them, they go with the theme of the character that they are representing, and I think this represents really well. Absolutely. I'm like, this is just amazing, beautiful. But again, if it's ranking so long, believe me, it's because it's, to me, a complimentary palette. And although I don't have it, it's not part of my collection, and in fact I'm not giving it a number, but if I was to have the Celestial Divinity Mega Palette, the one that came out for this holiday, most likely it will be perhaps a little bit above of these two right here, because it's a combination of these two palettes right here. That palette comes with 18 shades, 12 of which they are these two right here, and then the ones right in the middle, the 6 span, those right there are new shades. So I mean, like, I know I'm missing that one. I don't feel like I really need to buy it. In fact, I watched my friend Beauty and the Freeze Kara, and she did an amazing comparisons. She has the palette, and she showed how, like, that if you have the Anastasia Beverly Hills and Jackeline eyeshadow palette, you basically, I mean, like, if you have that one and these two right here, then you basically have that palette. So that's why I said I'm not gonna get it, although I would love to, you know, add it on my collection. But anyhow, if I was to place the Celestial, the Mega Celestial Divinity palette, I'm pretty sure it will come a little bit above of these two right here. Okay friends, now moving on to number 17, and this one right here is a quad that it came out this year also with the holiday collection, and this is Fleur Fantasia. I love it. I think it's gorgeous. I really love that Pat McGrath is giving us right here some more kind of like pastel tones, and it doesn't have to do anything with the color story. Once again, this palette is gorgeous. This shade right here has a stunning flip between pink and lilac. I mean, it's gorgeous. I think the reason why I'm ranking it a little bit low is because I feel like I can only get you know, certain type of looks, and I don't have any shade right here that I can deepen out my look. So again, this becomes once again another kind of like you know, like another palette that is a companion palette that I will have to like usually kind of like get my hands into, kind of like a neutral palette to just give a little bit more depth to the eye look. Not that it's needed to, because if you have watched my video where I'm actually reviewing this palette and also the new highlighter, you will see that the look, I mean, I enjoy the look a lot. It's beautiful, it's gorgeous, believe me. But I just think, you know, like if I'm thinking as overall as a palette that I can use it just by itself, that's why it's ranking so low. And then on number 16, I have this mini one, Eye Ecstasy Subversive. So these ones right here are all repeated shades from one of her Mothership palettes, and that's why I have it right here. Again, color story is beautiful, but this is just a palette to kind of like, you know, go along with another palette. And then if I go with the number 15, it will be the Eye Ecstasy in Sublime. Same thing, you know. In fact, this one right here, I feel that you can actually get an entire look without going with any other palette. But to me, these two are like, I mean, and I think this is perfect. I don't like the packaging because I don't want to say that it looks cheap, but you know, in comparisons with everything else that she has, I think something different will make, you know, will have makes, you know, a little bit better reflection of the brand. But these two right here, I think they are right now on sale at her website. If I'm not mistaken, also Sephora. I will be leaving all the palettes on the description box below, but they are, I think, between $12 or $10 a piece right now. So if you're thinking to give it to, I mean, like any makeup lover, they will absolutely love it, and they can be really great stocking stuffers too. So these two are beautiful, but like I said, because not because they're repeated shades, but because once again, I think a lot about that, like, are they standalone palettes, yes or no? And then going into number 14 is another one of her quads, and this one right here is Nocturnal Nirvana. I love this quad right here. I mean, I love this beautiful blue right here. It's like kind of like an aquamarine blue. This purple is stunning, stunning purple. And then this one right here has Such a beautiful flip. I mean, like, I'm not super crazy about greens, but I cannot negate that this shade right here is gorgeous. I mean, like, absolutely stunning. And perhaps, again, this is the reason why it's ranking at this position right here, is because I don't gravitate too much into this quad. I always forget to use it. It's not something that I'm like, oh, let me get it. No, because I mean, like, unless I was going for any of these colors, you know, I don't know, I just kind of like forget a little bit about it. But nonetheless, I mean, this is a beautiful palette. In fact, I think a palette like this, like a Mothership 10-pound palette with this type of color story, will be like the bomb. And on number 13, I have here Gold Uplands. These are here came out in celebration of the lunar year, and this palette is gorgeous. I have used it quite a bit. I love the color story. I mean, give me some pinks. Yes, please. And I love that in this case she didn't use another burgundy tone, because if you know Pat McGrath, instead of browns she used a lot of burgundy. I see why she does it. Is burgundy complements various skin tones, and it's a really good shade to deepen out your crease and, you know, like give more intensity. So I mean, like, it's a beautiful selection, but I don't like to see it so much in every single palette. And I'm like, you will see it in pretty much every palette, but this right here has this intense brown that is just stunning. This palette is a standalone palette. I'm like, this 6-pound palette, out of all the ones that I have on my collection, this one right here is on the top of my list. In the 12th position, I have here Decadence palette. I have it in the Star Wars packaging. Isn't this so beautiful? I wish she could bring this one back. I think people deserve to have this on their collection. It's just so beautiful. And the reason I put it right here is because, again, I'm like, this has such a beautiful variation of colors, but there's not really a color story right here. I mean, at least I'm like, you can create different, you know, eye looks right here, but I feel like, I mean, it's a very colorful palette. It's a fun palette. I mean, you have your purple blues, this rustic tone right here, again some burgundy, you see again her golden tones. So there's stuff that you can do right here. I mean, like, if you separate it in quads, it totally makes total sense. But it's not a palette that I gravitate towards a lot. And I think, like, in fact, when Decadence came out, it wasn't the palette that I was like, oh, I want that palette right away in my collection. No, I actually waited it, and then it went out of stock, and then it was really hard to get your hands on it, and I felt so bad about it. And then when this baby came out last year, the Star Wars palette, I'm like, well, this is mine. It's golden, it's beautiful, I have to have it. Number 11, I have here one of her new quads, and this one right here is in Risque Rose. I mean, this palette, again, beautiful, again, the pinky tone, again, this burgundy tone, and I think what it makes the palette like super pretty is this beautiful duochrome right here. It has some silver, lilac. I mean, it's a beautiful cool tone. It's amazing. And I mean, like, the palette is gorgeous, it's beautiful. It's a standalone kind of quad, but I will have to say that's the reason why it's falling down so low, is because I guess it's because we just see so much pinks and rose tones and burgundy tones on Pat McGrath palettes, that this one right here, although gorgeous, and I highly recommend it if you're looking for a holiday gift for this year, but it's just, again, like I said, if you have all the eyeshadow palettes from Pat McGrath, you will see a lot of these, you know, like pinks going on again and again and again. So I think that's why it's falling so low, but it's beautiful. And then on number 10, I have here Iconic Illumination. This palette, isn't it this stunning? And like, this wine tone is to die for. And then look at this gold. Oh, the reflectivity on this is just so real. This is just so beautiful. This quad right here is holiday in a palette. It's just stunning. With this palette, you can create an entire look. Use it, you know, like if you want to complement another eye look. I mean, but the quad right here, this is just gorgeous. A gorgeous palette. Going into the number 9 palette, it has to be the Mothership 2, the Sublime palette. This one right here. I mean, gorgeous color story, beautiful, a lot of pinks, a lot of neutral. It does have this beautiful green that it shifts from green to kind of like dark purpley grayish tone. I mean, like, it's really pretty, but it's a really dark base. I just don't find myself like using it a lot, but I think it's nonetheless a beautiful palette. I like the color story. I like her combination. I think this perhaps was her first inspiration of a rose. I mean, I know all these years she has been in this rose inspired situation, but I really think that this palette right here was her kind of like first attempt to a rose palette, because I mean, we have the stem of the palette, then we have the rosy tones right here. I mean, like, I don't know, it just gives me that vibe, but in a little bit more calm, more subdued way. And on 8th place, I have right here Subliminal Mothership palette number 1. This one is a gorgeous cool tone palette, but for one reason or another, I don't gravitate too much towards 2 unless I want to use the most gorgeous blue tone that has ever existed. I mean, like, this blue is a dream, and you have seen me use this palette a couple times here. I think I did like will I buy it video and another video, and every time that I have worn this palette, you guys always want to know, what are you wearing on your eyes? What are you wearing on your eyes? So if you see me using an intense blue, this is it. This is what I go for. Like, imagine I was trying to clean my finger and it's still there. This is a marvelous palette. I think like all the palettes right here, I cannot say anything wrong about them. I mean, like, absolutely, they are ranking between the first 10. It's just pure preference. Okay, friends, so on the 7th place, I have here Divine Rose number 2. And I mean, this palette is gorgeous. It is a pink dream for sure. This shade right here, Extraterrestrial. See the green flip, and then it has pink. I mean, like, oh, this is gorgeous. Gorgeous. And in fact, I did a review video on this, and then I did a second video with 5 looks. So I have done a total of 6 looks here on my channel using this palette right here. So although you see it like very pink, I mean, like pink and gold, that's what it is, this palette. There's a lot of color combinations that you can do, like different looks. Like I said, I have 6 different looks here on my channel, and the palette is beautiful, but like I said, it doesn't have, I mean, all your looks will be some sort of pink, and it's not that it's something wrong, but in the long run, I feel like this palette lacks a little bit of like, okay, another variety, another shades, I don't know, something else. But other than that, I'm like, again, I love the palette. And then on 6th place, I have here Midnight Sun. And this one is the perfect fall palette. I in fact included it. I did a video with all the eyeshadows that I will recommend for you to use during the fall. And I think this is, I mean, stunning, gorgeous. This shade right here, I mean, like, her special shades are just extraordinary. This shade right here is gorgeous too. I wish though that this shade, I'm like, this very coppery in tone, and I remember when we saw the first promo images, it really looked a little bit more, I don't know, like a little bit more orangey tone, and I just wish it was just a dash more orangey. Definitely a palette that is perfect for this season. Next palette is Mothership Subversive number 3. I think this palette right here is gorgeous. I really love the different color story right here. Here we can see the reflection of Pat McGrath artistry. You know, like the different color combinations. I mean, there's no rules on what you can do. I think these shades right here are stunning. This one right here has a flip of blue and purple. I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it, but it just have a marvelous flip. This shade right here is kind of like a gray tone with a lot of glitter. So if you're looking to do a beautiful, very intense smoky eye, you can use like this one as a base, then deepen out with these with a little bit of the black, and all in the middle of this shade right here. I'm like, This palette is stunning, and I think it deserves a little bit more love. I would love to see a little bit more of these kind of palettes from Pat McGrath, see a little bit more of her artistic take, I think. And that's what I was saying about this quad right here. You know, something inspired of this color story will be something really fun to see from her. In fourth place, I have here, this is a new quad, and this one is Interstellar Icon. This palette is just everything. Like, really, this quad is stunning. This shade right here steals the show. It's blue, it's purple. I don't know if you can see it there. My fingers are staying. Let me see, let me do this. This finger right here. I don't know if you're gonna be able to see it right there, but this is just another gorgeous palette. Pat McGrath, I mean, she knows what she's doing so well. And I mean, like, for example, here she has a repeated shade, but it's justified. I mean, like, this palette, it's incredible. The different eyeshadow looks that you can get from this palette is stunning. Like, you don't need to use this one all over the crease, but even if you just use, like, for example, this all over the crease, this to deepen it out, and this one as an eyeliner, oh, it's just so gorgeous. Okay, and the last three palettes right here. Okay, the next one is a Mothership palette, and this one is Bronze Seduction. Ah, this palette is so pretty. It's gorgeous, it's beautiful. I love the red shade right here, this green that then when it shifts it turns into pink. I mean, the color story is just fabulous. This palette, I think, is a palette that many people can use it. In fact, I think I just did not like a few days ago, yeah, my holiday gift guide, and I mentioned if you want to give a really good, you know, present, whoever you give this palette to, they are just going to be so elated, so in love when they try the formulation. The color story is gorgeous too. This is the closest perhaps that she has gotten with kind of like a, shouldn't say neutral palette, but more in that nudish tone, but it's still giving us, you know, her artistry here, her different shapes of, you know, shades. I mean, like, in here I see a red rose. I don't know why. I'm like, I see roses in her. I think that's her inspiration, but this is gorgeous. And this shade right here, I mean, this is a beautiful aubergine shade. Stunning. And then going into the last two palettes, and I'm pretty sure you know which one is in my second place. It's an eyeshadow quad. Yeah, it's not a Mothership palette. And this is kind of polemic because I know some people that they are really good friends of mine that they don't like this quad, but I happen to love it, and that is Ritualistic Rose. Ah, this palette right here, I just love it. I mean, look at this. Isn't it that stunning? Wow. And I'm a girl, I like pink, I like purples, I like mauves, but this quad right here, I can get a full-on look with it. This shade right here is gorgeous. This shade is another stunning shade too. I just absolutely adore this palette. I think it's such a beautiful, well done quad. The brown in here, absolutely everything. And again, when I'm ranking these palettes, I'm thinking about my own preferences. I know certain people, they don't like this quad right here, but I do like it. I find a lot of use out of it, and I really love it because even if I decide to use like a very nude neutral palette, I can grab towards this one and just pop this shade right here or this shade right here, and boom, my look is on a next level. And then on number one, you know already, hello, the Divine Rose number one. Yes, this Mothership palette. This is, I said it a million times, this is the love of my life. I love it so much. There's no other palette that I love the most from Pat McGrath as of right now. This gives me an everyday look that is Jackeline in a palette. I mean, like, she needs to give the choice that I can, instead of having her logo, sorry, I can put Jackeline right here. I'm just kidding. I love this palette. I'm like, it's pink, but it's not bright pink. I love that it has those dusty tones, mauvey tones. I mean, like, she didn't put a strong burgundy, she put a beautiful brown shade right there. This shade right here is stunning as a transition shade, and then this shade right here has a gorgeous flip. You see it kind of like orangey tone, on the camera, but as you turn, it has some pink. I mean, this is just an extraordinary palette. I just love it so much. I cannot, I'm like, I have to swatch it. Like, even this one right here even has gold in it, and then this one right here has a flip. And like, I know the camera is not gonna be able to show it to you, but it has a flip of like hot pink and white. This one comes from her highlighter trio actually, and I think it, I mean, she did amazing on this color story right here. So if you're a person that, you know, on daily basis you want something neutral, and you're like a person that you're, you know, you just want a Mothership palette but you want to use it, I will say this one is perhaps, if you like, again, mauve tones, pink tones, but then they are in the dusty side, then this palette could be for you. Okay, my friends, and I think this makes it for the ranking of this video. I don't even know if I messed up on the numbers, to be honest with you. I have a paper right here, like doing kind of like tally marks. It's like, okay, first this, first that, and then I lost track. Who knows? But anyhow, my friends, I would love to know from you, what are your favorite Pat McGrath palettes, or which one will you rank like on first place out of all of what you have? And while you're at it and leaving that comment down below, I hope that you will give me the opportunity and subscribe to my channel. Make sure you ring that post notification bell so you don't miss any of my uploads. Here I upload frequently, and I'm doing also Vlogmas, so it's gonna be, hopefully, fingers crossed, 25 days straight of videos. So I would love for you, again, become part of my family. And if you have just a dash of time, come and follow me on my Instagram, because right there I keep you posted of the new makeup releases, when there are sales like the Pat McGrath one, and much more. If you like this video, do not forget to give it a thumbs up. Also share with family and friends. And until the next time, I hope you have a beautiful, wonderful day. Bye.